Hola, bom dia, alegria. Munson here from expatsportugal.com with the Good Morning Portugal show, starting as we have done all this week in our new format with a bit of news and weather and the expat update between 8:30 and 9. And then from 9 o'clock, because it's Thursday, James Holley will be with us, who is a terrific correspondent. He's already commented on the show that he's going to be appearing in today. Look at this. Bon dia, Gumpers. And we go to Utah to talk a little bit more about Gumpers as well in just a minute. Feliz quinta-feira a todos. Estarei 15 minutos ontem e 10 minutos até agora hoje. So James making great progress, not only with coming here to Portugal, but learning the language as well. Top man. And we're going to talk more about his journey here and about him as well. If you have not been tuning in and you're looking at my face and thinking, what on earth is that under your nose, Carl? It is Movember, and I'm growing a moustache along with Francis. I don't know of any of the other ladies or gentlemen that are growing moustaches for male mental health, male health issues in this month. But do declare yourselves and send pictures if you wish on this rather good cause, as I would like to think it is. Thunder's in, Deagle's in from Belfast. Sarah, hello, Sarah. Jim's here. Michael and Rebel Mama, of course. Luis Rivas, look, a rare name on the screen here, but Luis Rivas, a good morning to you as well. And look, Filomena Pascual, she is here with us tomorrow for Filomena Friday. And you lucky people on the Expats Portugal plan. She's joining us tonight from 9 o'clock, talking in that exclusive room, that illustrious room from 9 o'clock tonight about Portuguese language and culture. So looking forward to hanging out and having some fun with you tonight. We're hanging out and having fun with James a little bit later on. But let's look at that news and weather first, shall we? Let's do the weather so that I don't forget, which is what I've been doing mostly this week. And we have our Good Morning Portugal weather screen here. And I'll do... because we've got an American flavour, because James is here this morning, let's those Fahrenheit temperatures for the capital and for Porto. So 54 degrees Fahrenheit in Lisbon currently with few clouds, rising to 66 today. Sunny day tomorrow, Friday, and a slightly cloudy weekend. But that cloud cover bringing a nice temperature of 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Deagle saying, do not talk to me about it being cold in Portugal. Some coldness over there in Belfast this morning. Porto. Look at that. I've only done Lisbon in Fahrenheit. I'm going to have to change it, aren't I? So back to centigrade then. And an 8-degree start in Porto with a 17-degree high. Nice couple of days ahead, though, Thursday and Friday. Starting off at 8, as I said, rising to 17. 17 tomorrow again, but starting at 12 tomorrow. And Coimbra, where the best of the temperatures have been. 20 degrees the high today. 21 tomorrow. Friday, looking pretty feel good weather-wise around the country. Down in the south, Saturday the better day to look forward to. Slightly cloudy today and tomorrow, but 20 degrees to look forward to. I don't know if Dougie will still be there. Dougie sent us in a great video of Monchique. If we have time, we will share today. So much to share with you today. It's going to be a great fun show. Thursdays, moving to Portugal Thursday, featuring James Holley coming along. The Banana Slug Man, of course. You may know him as the Banana Slug Man. Carl is back. Well, this is no good at all. And I honestly just do not know what to do about it. I will get my technical team onto it straight after the show. And I was hoping it was just going to be a one-off. But clearly we're going to have to deal in earnest. I'm not hearing it in my headphones. It's not on the sound side. It must be some other, I think, earthing difficulty inside the house. You know, we're in a new premises here, a new home. And I think it is something to do with the earthing inside the home. So I'm so... that is the case, and it's worse today. Oh no, the sound is crackly again. That is awful. There's nothing else I can turn off. Oh, I know, I could unplug the phone. You can help me here with the process of elimination. I've just unplugged the mobile to make sure it's not the mobile charger that's doing that, and let me unplug it from the little IKEA charging base as well. I can't see what else I can unplug without causing without crashing the show, basically. So let's see how we get on with that, and let's go to a few news stories this morning, as we like to do now between 8:30 and 9. Serious all day, and I'm going to talk to James about this because James pulled me up a bit on Monday, saying, how about a bit more positive news, and you delivered as a community. You certainly delivered on that and sent me some more positive news stories to share. So I'm very glad of that, and keep them coming. Basically, you're most welcome to do that. These will unplug as well. Let's see if that, and I'll change me USB cable after the show as a priority to see if that does anything as well. Okay, so serious news story from the Portugal resident today. The minimum wage has gone up in Portugal. Can you guess what to? Are we, we were hoping, weren't we? It might go up to 4 figures for the people of Portugal. Sadly not. There is a rise, but not as big a one as I'm sure they and we on their behalf might be hoping for. Portugal transforming into country of minimum wages is actually the headline, which doesn't sound too favourable, does it? Natasha Don writing a day or two ago, announcing an increase in Portugal's minimum wage to €705 today. PM, the Prime Minister Antonio Costa, is gunning for election victory. Yes, of course, an early election has been called. You could say this is quite cynical, couldn't you? Pumping up the minimum wage before going into an election in a couple of months' time. But, says Natasha, once the fanfare is over, which will be very soon, the truth is that almost no one can survive on €705 per month. In Portugal, you get 14 of those a year. I'm not saying that makes it that much better, but it is something to bear in mind if you're just wondering to yourself, how on earth can any survive on €705 as Natasha is doing there? So you get 14 months of pay, a double bubble in December and at the holiday time. Okay, it does vary from company to company. I think some are averaged out 14 times divided by 12, and it's spread out over the year. But there is that anomaly to take into account. But still, €705. Much worse, she continues. Minimum salary is not a line in the sand for workers to look back at to see how well they are doing. It is more a snare that was almost 70% of the country and its workforce shackled to a form of working poverty, wage slavery, you might say. Oh, I suppose anyone who has to work is in wage slavery to some extent. Bleats that labour is hard to find these days have to be set against the fact that since the PS socialist government seized power in 2015, average wages in this country have increased only by 10.1%. The minimum, I mean, that'd be a massive rise for some people, wouldn't it? But no, not here in Portugal. The minimum salary, however, has increased by 39.6%. Thus, it is seen as a winning election campaign foil, but it is still only €705 a month, as we've said there. As RTP reported on the Prime Minister's announcement today, the Confederation of Portuguese Workers is far from impressed. The increase from the current €665 per month, get that, €665, is insufficient, said an official source. Anyone who will have tried living on €705 per month will almost certainly agree. So let's leave that there then, and you let me know what you think about that in the comments. Talking in the comments, let's go see what's going on in there. Certainly some of these this morning. Well done, everybody. We've got some muito bens for you, and she'll be here to do it in person. I think she's going to be very, very proud of you tomorrow when Philomena joins us for Philomena Friday tomorrow. So well done, everybody who's sharing their achievements of doing 15 minutes. And weather in Belfast. Look at this. Bon dia car from a very cold Belfast. Went to 2 degrees last night in some rural places. Woo, chilly in Northern Ireland. 0 degrees, light ground frost. So don't tell me it's cold in Portugal. Fair play. And Sarah's here. Bon dia Gumpus got carried away. I memorised yesterday and did way more than 15 minutes. It gets you like that, Sarah. Hopefully seeing you tonight on the webinars and the gatherings that we have on a Thursday. The format makes it really enjoyable. I think the special offer might have expired by now. I missed it myself. Got some problems with my Portuguese card. I can use it in some transactions, but it's not letting me use it on the internet, which I think might be a little bit of a Portuguese foible. And there's something I need to do that I don't know how to do to make my Urabic card work online. But there you go, never mind. I'm going to go and see the bank about that tomorrow, which may give me more material, of course. Anytime I go into a bank, often gives me more content for the show. Bon dia todos from Jim as well this morning. And good morning, Jim. And Michael Whitby, just down the road from me in San Martino. Good morning to you with your chorizo in hand there, Michael. Great picture. And questions coming in already for James, which is fantastic. Rebel Mama here. And Luis Rivas, tell us more about yourself. And there are 3 today in Portuguese history today. He's limbering up with those as we speak, I suspect, as well. And Stephen Barkley tuning in, I think, to hear James this morning. Bon dia from the west coast of Canada, a little bit further up north from where James hails to be here in Portugal. Ron Shea as well. 15 minutes. Well done, James. Well done, Ron. Well done, James, definitely. James is here and ready to talk to us. And well done, Ron, over there in Cascais. Susan's here as well. And I'm so sorry about the crackly sound. Bon dia to you, Jean, as well this morning. $7.50 a month. True story, that Rebel Mama. Morning all from Elra. Oh, yes, look, we've got this again from someone else. If we want to buy, should we have a whip round and buy more followers and viewers for the show? Let me think about that. No. Very good, Carl. Reduced. Okay, so whatever it was I unplugged has done something. That's great. I grew up some in Brazil, so I need to learn more. Okay, and you have the added complication, of course, there, don't you, Stephen, of Portuguese and Brazilian and European Portuguese. Jack's here, everybody. I trim the whiskers every day, says Jack, which is a very authentic and transparent thing for a lady to share. Must be an age thing. As for men's health, I'm sure Chris would not be happy if he could see the real me. No pictures required. Thank you, Jack, for that very revealing portrait of domestic life there. When I left, it was just below €400 a month, says Elra, going back to the minimum wage there. I imagine Rebel Mama says Portugal has a smallish population. It might be easier to implement a universal monthly income. Well, that's an interesting conversational tangent. It would help so many people. Wonder if they have presented that idea. I think most governments talk about it. They must do, mustn't they? They can't be oblivious to the fact that around the world there is talk of people having the universal basic income. Some people fear the worst, don't they, with that it's part of this kind of, great reset sort of agenda. And maybe that's not such a great thing, but very happy to hear your thoughts on that. Jeff Jackson also here, and Luis. Hello, Jeff. And Luis is watching from Las Vegas. Fantastic. Crackling's almost gone. That's fantastic. Really glad to hear that. Let's go for a quick today in Portuguese history. What? Number 2? I didn't even see number 1. Where did that go? Maybe have missed a few comments here. Definitely sounds, it's an internet connection or encoding broadcasting, definitely not electromagnetic interference. Raphael knows about these things, but I'm concerned that I'm going straight to number 2 in Portuguese history. Maybe repost it for me, Eusebio. Okay, today in Portuguese history. 1975, the date line, and it feels like we should have a bit of music. The same music we come in. 1975, Angola gains independence from Portugal, but plunges into civil war, which is a proxy for Cold War hostilities between the US and USSR. Very interesting. Not for the first time around the world, it could be added. Thank you for that, Eusebio. Could you repost number 1 for me? I'd be grateful for that. And sim, Michael, no dia de San Martino vai a adega e prova e vinho. So she's, are you on the way here to taste some wine? I wonder, Philomena. Planning on relocating to Portugal soon. Luis telling us a little bit more about himself and family there. Fantastic. Okay, let's go back to a little bit more news before we bring on James. And I want to tell you about this Gloria. What is it? It's a series, mini-series, or great big box set, however you want to look at it, over on Netflix. And I'm going to take you back a bit to 2020 with this, because I'm taking that came out about Gloria. And I thought it was, I have a daughter called Gloria. I think it's a wonderful name. And I thought it would be about somebody called Gloria. It's in fact the name of a town or village, as we're about to find out. So Netflix, back to the 9th of September 2020. Oh, the good old, oh no, they weren't, were they? The real pandemic in the thick of it at that stage, weren't we? The 9th of September 2020. Anyway, Netflix announces back then the start of the Gloria, with a little accent on the O there, Gloria. See, is how I'm going to go for it. Philomena will put me right, and then we can put the little meme up of what did you just say, Carl? It's new, original concept produced by the SPI production company of Grupo SP Televisão and co-produced with LTP here in Portugal. It's an original series by Pedro Lopes and directed by Tiago Guerres. Gloria will be shot in the Ribatejo region and in Lisbon. The series takes place in the 1960s. At the height of proxy wars, Cold Wars here, at the height of the Cold War in the small village of Gloria do Ribatejo. And I wonder if people have started to go there already to have a coffee and sit there and, oh, that's where they filmed that bit, that's where they filmed that bit. And this is where Raret is located. This is a really important part of the plot and basis of this series. Raret, an American broadcasting center that broadcasts Western propaganda to the Eastern Bloc. Well, I didn't plan it this way. It's just that this theme is coming up again this morning for the second time. João Vidal, an engineer from families linked to the Estado Novo, but recruited by the KGB, will take on several high-risk espionage missions that could change the course of Portuguese and world history. So that has got to be worth a watch, hasn't it? And I suspect you can do it in all sorts of ways. I think it's in Portuguese, isn't it? And you can watch the English subtitles. Or those of you who are watching it already, let me know. Do tell me how you're finding it, whether it's a good thing to watch from an entertainment point of view, as well as for learning European Portuguese. The beginning of the shooting of the series Gloria represents the arrival of Portuguese television fiction to a new level of quality and demand, said José Fragoso, the director of RTP1 and RTP International Channel. So he was pleased about it. And Nuno Arta Silva, Secretary of State for Cinema, Audiovisual and Media. What a nice job he must have, right? I welcome the first co-production of a Portuguese production company with Netflix. It was the first with Netflix. Great. And I hope that this production, which has the support of the Tourism, Film and Audiovisual Fund, will be followed by many other projects that will give visibility to the creativity of Portuguese screenwriters, directors and producers, and give the country's cinema and audiovisual a new dynamism. How cool is that? Do let me know what you think about it, please. The new Netflix series Gloria. Anybody watching that? Let's go to another this day in Portuguese history. I think this was the first one, wasn't it? On this day in Portuguese history, 1154, Sancho I. Don't talk about him much, do we, here on the show? But Sancho I, the first king of Portugal, and he had a special place, obviously, in Portuguese history. Why do we not see more streets and buildings and so on named after him? Edifices in his honor. But the first king of Portugal, Sancho I, Sancho I, first king of Portugal, from 1185 to 1212. They didn't live long in those days, or maybe he came to a sticky end in that position, but he was born in Coimbra, which of course was seen as much more of a central part of Portuguese history back in the day. So thank you for that, Eusebio. Superb. Today in Portuguese history as well, Douglas Hughes moves to Villarreal to Santo Antonio. Very good. And Project Frugal. Who's the handsome new presenter? What happened to Carl? Do you like it, Vinny? Vinny Vengeance. Just a tash coming along for Movember. Thank you for that very interesting comment. Okay, another one for you, a quickie, a couple of quickies before we talk to James, because actually it'd be good to bring James on and talk about the importance of positive news, because I think he's in the helping people business with mental health and well-being. So the effect of this positive or negative news diet may be the first thing I talk to him about. Don't let me forget the Gumper picture from Utah as well, because I think that's a lot of fun and a very thoughtful bit of post via email for us as well this morning. So let me find that Golgan poster, which I think is very beautiful. Bit of news then, the Golgan Horse Festival, the National Horse Festival. I can't remember. Is it the 49th? Anyway, in conjunction, of course, with this time of year, the festivity, the national festivity, traditional festivity of St. Martin. Lots of chestnuts being roasted. So I suspect in Golgao still, until the 14th of November, you will be able to smell horse. And there is a particular smell, isn't there, of horses? The equine aroma. So the smell of horses and chestnuts will fill the air. I expect there'll be a little bit of good cooking going on around there as well. Philomena may recommend a very good restaurant, because I know she has friends in high places, including Golgan. And so, yeah, can you imagine that? Grilled fish, bit of barbecuing going on, chestnuts, and the smell of horses, all contributing to the fine atmosphere of the Golgan Festival there in Golgan. Talking of Ribatejo, we're back there with the Golgan Feira Nacional do Cavalo over there. What a lovely poster. Wouldn't mind a framed one of those at Casa Munson. And then finally, as well, let me bring onto the screen a classic car exhibition that's happening. I think it starts this weekend. As soon as I bring it onto the screen, I'll let you know. For those of you who like these sorts of things, Classic Auto 2021. And there is a complaint, not a serious one, it has to be said, a bit of a first world problem, in all honesty, but hard to find out about things in Portugal. the marketing machinery, and it actually might be quite a good thing, the marketing machinery to find out about things is not always the best for some people who see these sorts of things come and go. It's as though the Portuguese people, they have their own networks and grapevines, and they know when these things are on. And you don't often find out as an expat, partly because you don't speak the language, partly because you're not tuned in deeply to the to local culture. So you might miss it. So that's where we come in, isn't it? And I think I would like more of this sort of thing on the show, these local events, because Portugal is not a big country, as I'm sure we'll find out from James. Americans think nothing of driving 27 hours for dinner, do they? From one side of the country to the other and back again. And think of Portugal as quite a piffling space in that, no disrespect, but no biggie to drive from Porto down to the Silver Coast for the day, as friends of ours do who are American. They think nothing of it. And here's one that they might drive down for, the Classic Auto on the 12th, 13th and 14th of November at the rather remarkable Expo Est. So, we were talking about mullets, where we said mullets were like a party at the front and business at the back. The Expo Est Centre in Caldas de Rainha has a similar sort of different front to its back. At the front, you think, okay, there's an expo centre. This is where conferences and exciting things might be showcased. And then you go around the side, it's just a massive barn. It's a place of two aspects for sure. That's Expo Este in Caldas de Rainha, which literally translated, as I keep saying, and these must be poor translations, is Syrup Queen. Caldas de Rainha, Syrup of the Queen. That can't be right, can it? Philomena, help us out with that. But the 12th, the 13th and the 14th of November, the Classic Auto Show. The 15th, it would appear, Salão do Automóvel Clásico, Motos Antigas e Peças. Now, that means accessories, I think. So it's a great salon of the classic automobiles, antique motor cars, and accessories, paraphernalia to go with. And that's a rather special looking vehicle there. What does that say there? Is that dynamic in some nice chromed writing there? Dynamique 88 possibly. But there you go, 12th, 13th and 14th, starting tomorrow for a long weekend here in Caldas de Rainha. So I hope, near me in Caldas de Rainha, I should say. I still think I live there. Okay, that's brilliant. And it's time before his due time. He's meant to be on at 9 o'clock after the music that we play, but we'll do that anyway at 9 o'clock. And let's just bring James on while we're talking about news and the importance of positive news. So a warm welcome to you, my friend James Holley. How are you? Banana Slug Man, he's here, everybody.
I'm here. Hi.
You know what? That must be your kind of comic book hero, alter ego, Banana Slug Man. I think there's mileage in that, James.
Well, there's many images of that character coming from Santa Cruz, very creative location with the university. So they came up with banana slugs all on their own. They're Division III. They don't get scholarships for athletics, but they have competitive teams. And they said, we're going to be the banana slugs. So that's what they became.
Well, that's great. It's become the motif for the show. So I'm very grateful to you for that.
Well, yeah. And then, of course, the reason for that is the redwoods up there, where the only place where the banana slugs live. So
we learn even more about the banana slug because he or she likes to feast on a redwood. Is that what we're learning here?
Down on the floor of the redwood forest, they love it.
Okay, that's amazing. And we should perhaps add as well that the reason it came up is because when we were talking about Dr. Bayard lozenges. I think it was you, wasn't it? He said, that looks like a great big banana slug. And then sent us a picture of one. And you're not kidding. I mean, it really does, doesn't it? So it's understandable, the connection that was made there.
She's fighting a giant banana slug in that picture.
And she definitely deserves more than a minimum wage for that, I think. You would want more than €705 for that, wouldn't you? I suspect. It looks like you should have 2 women on that job. Okay, or at least. So how are you today? Como estás? Tudo bem?
For me, every day in Portugal, especially this beautiful Ericeira, is a beautiful day. So I know people say, oh, you're in that infatuation stage and you'll get to a point where you miss home and blah, 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 blah. And I say, I'll deal with it if it shows up, but it's difficult for me to imagine that happening at this point. I'm really enjoying being here.
The infatuation stage. I mean, that for me has lasted at least 4 years now. So I think you're going to be I think you're going to be okay. I mean, I found another beach yesterday, just a few minutes from my house, and that only helps with the infatuation and the love affair that's been going on. So, before we talk a little bit about the this side of 9 o'clock stuff, the importance of having positive news, please position yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you came from, and how you got to be here.
How long have we got?
We've got over an hour, so take your time.
Let's just only go back to my most recent profession change, which has now been 20 years, to choosing to be a psychotherapist. Having spent a lot of time looking at the wisdom of the world about, follow your bliss and do that. It's like, well, what is my bliss? I had no idea what my bliss was. I wasn't raised to focus on that. I was raised on being careful. So it was always about being practical and having a plan B. Anyway, I made that decision at a more advanced age, and it was the exact right decision for me, which coincides with, I think you and I probably share similar ideas about how, call it spiritual or whatever you want. I tend to go with the inspiration that comes from outside of me. And when I do that, I have often said my profession as a therapist felt like I dumped a jigsaw puzzle out on the table and started watching it put itself together.
Oh, wow.
I had to put some effort in, move some of the pieces, do that, but it just fell together. And it's been right. 20 years. That is my passion, and I love it. I'm curious about people. I'm curious about life, about human interactions. The Buddha really impresses me because at least the stories about him were that he went out and observed human behavior and tried to figure out what the heck is going on out here. And to me, the explanations are amazing. So I've incorporated a lot of Eastern thought in my practice of psychotherapy. So that's my passion. That's what I'm currently doing. And I don't know how far back you want to go. I came out of Santa Cruz, or I was in Santa Cruz when I made that decision. And I'd been in Santa Cruz for well over 20 years. I went there to go to the university, which is where the banana slugs plugged in, and decided that I love being here. Santa Cruz is my place. It was the only place in my life that truly felt like home to me. And then I made this decision to be a therapist, so I had to leave to go to school, and then this, that, and the other thing. By the time I was thinking of going back, it was 100 times more expensive. So I missed that window.
Okay. Amazing.
Which is the prelude to how I came to be here. So.
Well, so let me get this straight. Being a psychotherapist came a little bit later in your career. It wasn't your first choice. You haven't always done. Right. Okay.
People say, well, boy, you've had a lot of jobs. I said, what have you done? I said, probably the shorter list would be what I haven't done, because I unconsciously was searching for that passion. It's like, no, this isn't right. No, this isn't right. And of course, you got infinite possibilities, so that list could last forever.
Yes.
So it wasn't until I actually sat down and said, all right, what do you love? I love talking with people. I love listening to people. I love people's stories. I love helping people. I love being in front of people and educating, all the things I love to do. And I said, all right, so what profession does that? And I said, minister. Okay, now all we need is a church and a congregation. It's like, nah, that's not going to work. Anyway, I boiled it down ultimately to psychotherapy was the place, and that was spot on. And from that point on, like I said, the puzzle put itself together.
The clue was there, though. I mean, James Holley, right? That's not a million miles away from James Holley, is it?
Not a million, no. Although I've discovered through ancestry that the original the surname apparently came out of Ireland, and the original spelling was Hawley.
Okay. Holley, yes. Okay. Yeah, I know that name from United Kingdom. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Well, you know what? It's 9 o'clock. Before we play the theme tune for our leisurely hour from 9 till 10. This thing about where you pulled me up on Monday, and I'm glad you did. let's not be doing all the gloom and doom news when we're doing news, whether an expat update from 8:30. Let's be looking at the positive news. What's your take on that?
Well, what caused me to bring that up was I noticed energetically, personally, because I always come on the show with eager anticipation, a sense of positivity, loving the support of the community and being a part of it, all that. And I noticed as the news progressed, I was
yes.
It's like, oh my goodness, like what's going on? It's like, this news. Historically, I haven't watched commercial news, television news for over 30 years. I realized that it was just bringing me down. And the more I learned about what we feed ourselves, our food, whatever we take in is what we become, essentially, our physicality, our spirituality, our attitudes. So I said, I'm changing my focus. I'm changing my focus from negative to positive. And people, you're just burying your head in the sand. It's like, no, I'm not. I acknowledge that there's really nasty, horrible stuff that goes on in the world, and it upsets me. But to focus on it upsets me and leaves me in an upset condition.
Well said.
So I acknowledge. So I acknowledge that happens, and I don't like it. So what can I do about it? Also being really clear that I control nothing but myself. And then the best I've got over anyone else is influence. So how do I want to influence the world? Well, this goes back to my personal responsibility and accountability. I have to coin that overused phrase, be the change I wish to see in the world, which, by the way, Gandhi never said, but he's attributed to
Doesn't surprise me. It's like the one. It's like Mandela's, isn't it? Our greatest fear. He didn't actually write that, did he? I mean, it's great that he
Marianne Williamson,
Marianne Williamson, for sure. So Marianne Williamson didn't write "Be the Change" there. That predates her a little bit, I suspect.
No, actually, it's a fairly typical human need to do a Cliff Notes version of a more complex thing. So Gandhi actually said about 1 or 2 paragraphs worth of stuff, and someone said, "Oh, he said this." And it basically encapsulated that concept, was encapsulated in that phrase, but he never actually said those words. So
that would have been some idiot like me who came along and just came up with a 3-word version of it.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it is easier and it's well quoted. I mean, if we'd stuck to the paragraph or 2, we would not be saying it. So in that regard, it's great wisdom anyway. But that was that personal accountability and responsibility is, what can I do? How can I influence larger organizations? Can I make donations? How can I invest myself personally and physically? How can I be mad at the car industry if I'm driving a freaking car, right? I need to understand that I am as culpable for the problem as industry and corporations and everyone else. And until I own that, I really don't have room to complain or criticize.
James, you have distinguished yourself already. I mean, that's a mic dropper, really. We could leave it there. We could leave that profundity. We could take the rest of the day off and leave that profundity hanging there, as far as I'm concerned. But I want to talk to you for the next hour, and I do appreciate you and acknowledge you making that point about positive news. And at this point, let's invite everybody to make this the Portuguese Positive News Show. So, there will be times, I think, when it's important to alert people to what's going on. But let's balance it out, shall we, with local news, with positive news and things that make us feel great. So please bring those stories coming in.
And I do have to add, because I've been curious about this. Why isn't there more positive news? And first thing is always, when you don't understand something that seems irrational, follow the money. And the money is in bad news.
You're right.
And I said, well, is there anyone who's putting out, has a positive news show? And what I found out is virtually everyone who tried it failed. No one watched. No one was interested in watching good news. Yeah, but they were tuning into commercial news.
Yeah, well, they haven't found the right way to do it. I think I've said this before. I was assistant editor at a newspaper called Positive News in the UK. And I published my own magazine, a long time ago, called I think it was in Sheffield in England, and it was called Vibes magazine. It was all about positivity. Oh, look at that mug! Very good. Every home should have one. Nice one.
I agree.
nobody really. I mean, it's that, the old adage. It's certainly in the newspaper industry, and this is what a cynical old editor will tell the young reporter who wants to change the world. Bad news has travelled around the world twice, whilst good news is still doing up its shoelaces. It's part of, and again, we have to take some responsibility for that. We are the ones who buy the papers that do, collectively we're the ones who buy the papers with the bad news in and revel in that sort of stuff. And part of our, you'll know as a psychotherapist, the way the human mind works, it's looking for threats and problems, and presumably that's part of it as well.
Well, there's some one-upsmanship in it as well. I believe that a part of why so many people are interested in what's going wrong is they can look at that sometimes and say, well, at least my life isn't that bad. Yeah, and I think it's why Americans are stuck on watching the Royals in Britain. It's like, oh, look at the mess they're in. Ha ha, they think they're so highfalutin and I ain't got it that bad. That kind of attitude kind of goes in reality TV, the same thing. Yes. So I think there's something in our human nature that in a very sort of perverse way, it becomes positive because, oh, my life isn't that bad or that screwed up, or I don't know what it is exactly, but I think there's that part in it.
Incredible. Okay, we've got to play that music, and the invitation is there. It stays with you, and be the change. Going back to that phrase, be the greatness. Going back to the other phrase, let's not be afraid of ourselves. Let's shine here on the Good Morning Portugal show and be the change. So, if you see a story that you think should be shared, please, just don't think you're being a Pollyanna or you're burying your head in the sand, as James said. It's really important, I think, that we inform and enjoy the agenda ourselves here, and we will touch on the occasional story or article. And it's interesting that they are called stories, I think, which kind of undermines the truth of them in a little way. But I think there are notable things that we might report on that could be seen as negative. But there are many more other things that are very positive and useful to us. And I think a lot of that lies in local news as well. So if you hear about something in Portugal that you think others should know about, spread the word. Let's play that music and we'll be right back after this. Well, there it is, the Barcelo cockerel heralding the arrival of James Holley, who's joining me originally from California, and we have the pictures to prove it, I think, a little bit later on, but originally from California, now living in wonderful Ericeira, and beautiful pictures from there as well, and video, James. So thank you very much for sending me that in advance, which we will share. We've got a little bit of catching up to do with our community this morning, and we have a beautiful photo that was sent in from Utah, some way away from your departure point in the United States, but a nice reference point. Here they are. So have a look at that road. We're called Gumpers here, and I think you're part of that, James, of having us stick with that name. Is there another Gumper that you can think of that is associated with the road you see behind these lovely people? And the lovely people you see there are Jay and Diane. And they say to me, I took on another Gumper tag. We drove to Monument Valley to Gump Point. And this, of course, is where Forrest Gump stopped running and said he said something like, I'm tired, didn't he? At that point there, running along that road there. So Jay and Diane, thank you so much for that iconic picture. And that, if you couldn't put it into place in your mind, well, as soon as I mentioned Forrest Gump, you must be able to. So Jay and Diane, thank you so much for that. It looks like Gumpers is sticking, James.
Apparently. And they were just on their way to breakfast, by the way.
What, talking about traveling in America, which is no baby, right?
That was a tiny little road, yeah. I love the stereotype.
Yeah, I mean, there is, as with all stereotypes, there's some truth in it, right? When I said
Oh,
Americans
yeah.
were 29 hours just for dinner,
Well, the
maybe
other
not.
stereotype is you get in your car to go see your next door neighbor. That's another stereotype.
Well, with your gas being so cheap, it's no wonder that
Yeah,
happened. All
great
right, so
government subsidies.
yes, indeed, follow the money, as you said earlier on.
That's
So
right.
controversy this morning. Sancho I wasn't the first king of Portugal. Afonso Henriques was. Or do they, and by they you mean Eusebio, World Crisis, Midlife Crisis World Tour, MCWT, or do they mean the first king born on the Kingdom of Portugal? So a little bit of controversy there. We don't mind a little bit of that, where the Portuguese people slug it out between themselves so that we can get to the facts. Or the first king born on the Kingdom of Portugal as we know it today geographically. So some nuancing going on there. And we continue with more today in Portuguese history from Eusebio. I really like these, James. Do you? I mean, I think it's an amazing service he does for our community here.
Yeah, well, I was a history teacher at one point of those infinite number of jobs I used to have. So I love history.
Right. Well, here's some more. World War I, armistice is signed at 11 a.m. today, of course, 11th of November. And amongst the estimated 20 million already dead in that conflict, which is just unbelievable. We just don't seem to learn, do we? Even though I'm imagining Portugal was neutral. I don't know. Certainly in the Second World War, maybe you, Sabia, you can help us with this, but 7,222 of the Portuguese are in that death toll there of 20 million. So thank goodness the armistice was signed. But then World War II breaks out not that long after. Rebel Mama, I was just going to mention Gloria. It's really good and shows American intervention in other countries. Intervention in assistance, some others would call it, right? Or rebranding or whatever. Help in other countries that we are so infamous for. What does SMH mean? That eludes me. But yes, thank you for proposing that we watch Gloria. Sounds like you're enjoying it and interesting from a historical point of view. Yes, Elra, he was the second king. So a point of order and accepted and changed in the record. Please change that in the minutes, whoever's taking the minutes this morning. Sancho I was second. Do we have minutes here? Is anyone doing that? Does anyone want to volunteer? Capricorn 12, Bon Dia Gumpers, Jazz Funk Chuck of the Day, Ran by Fazio, which I think is a laid-back, downbeat Californian track. Some of my favorite music comes from California, James, it has to be said. And let's go to your starting point. Where are we here? Is that you? Is that a statue of you? Did they put that up as you left?
Yeah, I just want to say that I put together this part of another one of my jobs. I was a photographer in the Navy at one point, and
Wow.
one of my specialties was audiovisual presentation, although that was all old school analog film slides and photos. So
Kodak
anyway,
carousels? Were you a pilot of a Kodak carousel?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry, I was. We have something in common there from the audiovisual trade back in the day. But okay,
yeah. I did. I didn't recognize the reference. Yeah, the circle with the slides in it. Yeah,
absolutely. Yes.
That's part of what we use. We had to synchronize the movie projector with the slide projector with the audio. It was pretty amazing. Anyway, technology has made that a whole lot easier. And I found myself going to that when I set up these pictures and you were saying, we're interested in my story about how I got here. It's like, okay, well, I'll start because I spent so much time in Santa Cruz. Let me backtrack just a little bit.
Sure.
Part of my experience in the United States, ever since high school, since I was 17 years old, and I was in the first group of people in the United States who could vote when they were 18. So the year I turned 18 was the first year 18-year-olds could vote. Yeah. I've been environmentally, politically, socially conscious and active ever since then, my whole life. So people would call me, a left winger or whatever. I refer to myself as progressive. At any rate, that part of me has felt like it's been swimming upstream my entire life in the United States, because the right wing, while they are minority, are the loudest and the richest. So they get most of the attention. And so I've been in this, not battle so much, and I've relaxed a lot about that as I've aged, but every time I was supporting something, it felt like someone else many more people were fighting it. So I've had that sort of energy, and I was just getting tired. And then when Trump got elected, this may be controversial to some. I don't. Anyway,
Of course it is.
I'll speak my truth. My truth is, when he got elected, I just said, "You've got to be freaking kidding me! How did this happen? How did our nation, the United States, a democracy, elect this person? How did that happen?" And I said, "Well, a lot of people were
exactly happy. You weren't exactly happy with the result.
No, was not. And I gave the benefit of the doubt to a first-time experiment. It's like people were just tired of the old, same old, and he was clearly not that. So I said, all right, I'll give him that. We'll see what happens with the re-election. And even though he lost the second election, nearly 50% of the voting public voted for him. So that means half of the people who showed up to vote were still in favor of him after 4 years. And I said, that's it. I got to get out of here. I can't do this anymore. And again, it's not putting my head in the sand. It's not trying to run away from it. So I just don't want to be surrounded by that kind of energy all the time. So I started looking around. Where else can I be? I had the opportunity to travel to Europe in 2015. It was the first time I left the country without being a part of the government, being in the Navy. I went to Asia for a while. Never considered myself a traveler, or, it's like I was perfectly fine just being in California almost all the time. Yes. And exploring California. Coming to Europe, yes, it absolutely is. And coming to Europe for the first time, I said, oh, this ain't so bad. And I saw a friend, and she lived outside of Paris, and we spent a week in Italy, and it was great. I loved it. I went back a couple of years later and said, wow, I could imagine not being in the United States. That was the first time in my life that I considered that. So I started looking around. I found a journal called International Living, which I recommend to anybody who's looking at where in the world do I want to be. Very much like this program is targeted toward people who want to be in Portugal. That organization is targeted toward people who are looking to expatriate anywhere in the world. And they put together a list of the top 20 or 25 countries based on 10 or 20 or 25 criteria. And then they quantify it, and top of the list is their number one down to about 25. So these are the top 25 places based on those criteria. They put that together every year, and Portugal has consistently come up in the top 5 every year. And so that was the first time I ever started looking at Portugal. I think that's true of a lot of Americans, maybe all over the world. Nobody really thinks much about Portugal as a place to go. Maybe more in Great Britain. I don't know.
I think you're right. And that may change, of course, over time. But it is interesting that Portugal enjoys or experiences that positioning. It's not first choice, is it? It's a happy accident for many people to be thinking about other places. And then, what's this? Portugal? And all the usual things that come out, they haven't heard of it, or isn't that part of Spain? All these funny things that people say.
Isn't that in Central America?
Yes, stuff like that. No. And then they look at it and go, okay. And then they're amazed when they come here, land in Lisbon or whatever, or come, because of Web Summit or something like that. And it surprises people. Now, of course, that surprise can't last, can it? As word gets round and as popularity increases, I guess you move from surprise to predictability almost. But we're in that phase at the moment, aren't we? In exactly the condition you've described that you went through.
Yes, absolutely. I started looking at Portugal. I said Italy was another one of the countries on my list. Having been there, I love the energy of Italy. I said when I landed at the airport in Italy, it felt like the country gave me a big hug. I mean, energetically, like, welcome, here you are. We're happy you're here. And I'd never felt that before. You might enjoy this. What I have noticed is that the appeal of Italy is very similar to Portugal energetically, but Italy is the extrovert and Portugal is the more introverted part of that. And Portugal is more like, I'll give you. I'm happy you're here. Give me a hug. An invitation to dinner is an invitation. If you say no, people aren't going to get roughed up, or they're not going to insist that you have to be there. And in Italy, it's much more like that. It's like, no, you must come. You must come.
Yeah.
And, Portugal's like, oh, okay, well, maybe next time.
I get that comparison. I really like that. The other comparison, while we're on the matter, is that Portugal is the California of Europe, which and maybe not now, but you might want to consider that, evaluate that for us as well. But I do love that comparison with the introvert, extrovert, Latin thing going on, and the different kinds of hugs and invitations that go on in those respective countries. That's brilliant.
Yes, and by nature, I tend to be introverted, so the appeal of Portugal just kept growing. So in the around January of 2020, I said, I need to go get boots on the ground in Portugal. I need to see what it feels like. I'm going to take a 2-week vacation and just go see what it feels like to be there. And then boom, COVID.
Yes.
All of a sudden, my plan to put boots on the ground the world was not going anywhere. And during that time, I said, why? Because my nature is to put things together and have a plan and a backup plan, all that. And I said, nothing's going to be happening for months. You're 90% certain that you want to be in Portugal right now. Just start the visa process. You have to do it all here anyway. Just get it started. So many people are going, what? You're looking at moving there and you've never been there? It's like, yep. I was just ready to go. And so it was over a year and a half from the time I originally planned to come to Portugal to the time I actually showed up. Because the COVID
not bad.
Closing.
Yeah, that's not bad. What incredible timing as well, and what a brilliant embracing of circumstance that has not gone unnoticed. I think that's very elegant what you did there. And there may be, as we look back in history, the Portugal pandemic people who did, these are expats who used the time they had on their hands during the pandemic where they couldn't travel to make the plan to be here and just cut out the boots on the ground research trip and think, okay, I'm feeling this. I want to do it. And this is a group of people. They're here, aren't they? They're among our community, the ones who did that, just like yourself.
I've seen in the comments, there's people who are just chomping at the bit to do that. They're ready to be here. And I'm never sure that's chomping or champing. Anyway.
I'm happy with either of those. Happy with either of those. Yeah. Any linguists who may want to sort of venture a theory on that, please feel free in the comments. Because then you originated from this. Does this have a special significance? Did you go and touch that statue?
Yes, absolutely. And your timing's perfect on this, because at the point I decided that I was going to get my visa, I was already recognizing attributes of Portugal. It's like Portugal is like California. It's on the west coast of the continent. There's an ocean that comes right up along the coast, which I guess is redundant. But it's like, all right, I love California. It's just too expensive. And I don't want to, I'm looking at being out of the United States. So where else? So I started looking in, Central America, which is apparently very American friendly. So, and realized, the climate, no, it's too hot. It's too humid all the time there, because I want to be near the water. The ocean is what calls me. So it's like, no, that's not going to work. And I said, well, where's their ocean in Europe? Pretty much Portugal. Some of northern Spain, a little bit at the very top, but otherwise it's Portugal is on the coast in Europe. So I said, all right, California of Europe. And as I was looking at where do I want to be, I came, there was this like, yeah, maybe. And I said, all right, just cut out all the restrictions and just sit for a minute with where would you be if you could be anywhere in the world you wanted to be, and money and everything else was not an issue. And instantly, Santa Cruz, California came to mind. Instantly, without a hesitation, Santa Cruz. Because I spent 20 years there, and the only reason I left was to go to school. And within the 6 to 10 years it took me to go to school, get licensed, and start my practice, I was priced out tenfold or greater. You know,
Yeah.
I was paying maybe $1,000 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment, and that was now $3,000 a month. You
Oh,
know, so it's like, all right, I'm priced out. I can't go back there. I don't want to go to Santa Cruz so I can work 100 hours a week. I want to go to Santa Cruz so I can go out and enjoy being there.
yes.
So I said, all right, if that's not going to work, then maybe you need to look for the Santa Cruz, California of Europe. I said, well, the only place that's going to be is in Portugal. So now I'm looking for the Santa Cruz, California of Portugal. And I literally got on a map and started looking up the coast at the names of the various villages and towns and looking them up on YouTube or Wikipedia or whatever to see what is this place? What is this place? And in that process, Ericeira showed up, and
Right.
I started looking at it, and I said, wow, international surf location. That's Santa Cruz is a huge international surf location. And I'm not a surfer. It's not surfing, but there's something about the energy. And I think maybe you've been able to see, I pay attention to that. So Santa Cruz was the start, looking for the Santa Cruz, California of Portugal. If you want to go back to that picture and then to the next one, I think it shows there's a couple of pictures of Santa Cruz. So you get an idea of what that looks like.
Okay, and let me see if I have got those. There are so many lovely comments coming in. I don't think I do have Santa Cruz, do I? Oh, yes, I do. There's one, right? Or is that Ericeira?
No, that's Ericeira. That's the end.
I'm way out of sequence.
You
So
just showed my punchline.
No, I think there's another one. I think there's another punchline in there which connects to one of the comments that's been made there. And this must be torture for you, James, because there you very diligently put together an AV show to detail your journey. I'm just riding roughshod through it. All I've got is
practicing letting go.
I'm a great help with that. I can tell you.
My wife actually is a great help with that, but yes, some particulars. Just let go.
Okay. Well, see, the next picture I've got, and there are some lovely comments coming in. You're echoing a lot of sentiments that other people are feeling here. But there's the water you're talking about, right? You're flying in.
That's actually the horizon. That is, I'm flying to Lisbon. That's actually an overlay too, by the way. That's two separate photos. How do you like that?
Yes, I see that. Very nicely done. Yes.
And it was sunrise over the Atlantic on my way to Lisbon. I just saw that out my windows, and I have to get that. That is too much.
Of course you do. But then, may I play the video of the water?
Absolutely.
This is you coming in now, and we'll talk some more after this because we'll have the aircraft, the cabin atmosphere here, the noise of the engines.
Yeah.
So let me just remove that as well. Sorry, that's still on the screen there. Beautiful shot that it is as well. And so there you are. You've flown over the 25 de Abril bridge. You're flying over the LX factory pretty much. I see you're flying TAP. I can just see that on the wingtip there.
Yes.
What was that? What was that like after all those months of planning and scheming and thinking where you wanted to be making that landing there?
Well, we've entirely missed the D7 process, which was an adventure of its own.
Yes. Well, don't worry. People will be asking questions about that.
Yes, I only came to know about Gilda and her service later. I was watching Good Morning Portugal for about 6 months before getting here. So around April of last 21, watching the replays. By then I was well underway, yeah, that was quite an adventure in and of itself. And I'm proud to say I did it all essentially on my own with the help of videos and other things, but I didn't hire an agency. So I was ready to be here, and there was a lot of unknowns in the anticipation of being here. Like, do I have too much luggage? Am I going to have to pay more? Are they going to let me on the plane? All those kinds of things. And I remembered from my experience coming to Europe before that I will relax when the plane takes off.
Yeah.
Once the plane is in the air, then the only thing that's going to bring me back is if there's some catastrophe, in which case everything else doesn't matter. Right?
Yes.
It's like, okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good strategy.
So getting in the air was great. And my experience of TAP was really nice. All the crew that were there were friendly. Of course, they're all bilingual or multilingual. I did everything I could to speak as much Portuguese as I knew, which was very, very limited, primarily, please and thank you. But I feel that I believe that if I'm going to be in a place that speaks a different language, that it's incumbent on me to be familiar with that language and be able to speak to the natives in their tongue. So I was practicing that on the flight. And they kind of smiled and said, okay. And then I'd go, and they go, milk with your coffee or whatever. It's like, sí, por favor. Yeah, sí, por favor. So the flight was great. I made a notation yesterday or maybe the day before when you were talking about TAP, I was looking for a direct flight. I didn't want to stop somewhere, change planes, layover. I didn't want to do anything. I wanted to get on a plane in one place, get off the plane where I wanted to be. And San Francisco Airport has exactly one TAP flight, which is the only airline that flies nonstop direct from San Francisco. They have one flight a day, and it took 11 hours instead of 14 with the layover somewhere. My baggage would go on the same plane I got on, and so it couldn't get lost, all that stuff. So I made that choice. And it was a little more expensive to do it that way, but at that point I was willing to do that. Like I'd spent a year and a half getting ready to be here. I was going to let another $150 get in my way. I was like, all right, yes, I'll do that. And of course the rates change. That's one thing I would say. If people are planning on flying over, do it not in the high season. Do not do it between like July 1st and September 1st, or pretty much more October 1st. It's twice as much to fly during that season. So if you can fly in, October through June, you'll get a much, much better rate.
Great point. Okay, so a bit of a catch up then. I'm sure people will have, and I'm sorry I'm doing this to you, like pulling you all over the place with your story, but it is a nightmare for some people, the way that my mind works and then communicates in this way. I do it to myself.
I'm amazed. You multitask better than anyone I know. I couldn't possibly imagine trying to manage all the things you do. You do it marvelously, so I appreciate you.
I can thank you. I confuse and confound myself with the very same thing. So we're both in the same boat in a way. So yeah, I mean, to sum up there, this is amazing. The comparison between Santa Cruz, Ericeira, the California of Europe you're heading to. Great review of TAP there, by the way. It is possible to do the D7 thing on your own, which you've proven. And the one question I want to ask you before we look at so many comments that are coming in is I'm sure there are people saying to themselves, wow, I'd love it if James would sit me down in a chair in the way that he obviously sits himself down in a chair and takes me through that process. Your thought processes are very fascinating and wonderful. How you had a word with yourself on a regular basis, by the look of it. Is that how you do psychotherapy? Is that a mirror of professional life?
I tell my clients almost all the time, if not every time, I say, I don't do this job because I'm better than anybody else. I don't have all the answers. I certainly don't have your answers. And in truth, I'm getting paid to do my own work. So thank you very much. Because every time I'm engaged with someone else, obviously, well, maybe not obviously, but I'm assessing my own reactions, my own process, my own struggles, all the things that I have worked on and listening to their story and getting variations on it. And how did I work through? How could they work through? So in the process, very much like teaching, you learn more by teaching than you do by, listening.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I get it.
I have the opportunity to practice every time I'm sitting with a client. So that's another part of the passion and the joy I get from the work, because I have the opportunity every time to grow myself.
And that's transferred with you, has it? I mean, that is something you can offer people. People could see you for that process. I'm really confused about moving to Portugal, where to go. Oh my goodness, it's all getting too much. You offer that service to people?
Absolutely. There are some changes in terms of licensing. Right now, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist licensed by the state of California. And in the United States, that means I can only be a psychotherapist for residents of California.
Interesting.
As my license comes to expiration in June, I'm not going to carry that on, and I can change the label easily to coach. And interestingly, coaching is not regulated at all, where psychotherapy is regulated with a,
Yes, I understand. Seeing it from
so
both angles.
I can offer pretty much any kind of support, and I've been doing stuff through video conferencing for since before the pandemic. So that's been really nice for me too. I've still got clients who are in California. I just see them 8 hours later than where they are.
Yes.
So I say, okay, it's got to be your morning or it's my bedtime. So
but you're always ahead of them. You're always ahead of them, and you always will be. By the sound of it. And I've got to say, resonances of Goodwill Hunting here. I mean, I'm hearing you calling your clients sport in the way that so beautifully. I forget his name now. Forgive me. Who's the great Robin Williams, right? Who was so brilliant as a psychotherapist with the young, and another actor whose name I forget, that we will be told in the chat, I'm sure. But he exemplifies to me all that's good and great in the therapy role. He's obviously a wounded man and humble, and he's not pretending to be better than anybody. And the relationship between those two men, I think, is amazing. A very moving, moving.
Yeah.
Very moving movie.
Laying your stuff on them. It's like, just relate to it, understand it, try to have some compassion and some deeper understanding of them, but don't then put that was my only complaint with that role, is that he was putting a lot of his own stuff onto his client.
No question.
Ethically is considered a no-no professionally.
Which I think was a little bit of a Hollywood touch, right? I think there was allowable in there and tugged our heartstrings as a result. Yes, of course. So, okay, let's see what people are saying. We've got some catching up to do here, James. So Michael's on his way to Peniche on Friday, so enjoying the Silver Coast. Then a week in Ericeira, Sesimbra and Évora. What a lovely tour that is. Hiked up to a spell Santa Ana yesterday. That might be a typo. Of course, drank some wine in Salir, possibly, on the way down. But maybe Sapir, I don't know. We were talking of Gumpers. That was some time ago, and Pete will not let this lie. Do the Gimpers picture. I will when you send it to me, Pete. Ooh, the smell of rubber in the morning. Now, if you start that off, Pete, we may follow. We may not. But I think, given the amount you talk about it, and I have a psychotherapist here who might back me up, I think Pete's got a little bit of a fascination there that's giving something away about himself there and what goes on in there.
A bit of a fetish going on, yes.
Perhaps, I think so. See, the psychotherapist said so. Portuguese history slapped, going back to Sancho and Afonso. And Pete made a great comment, actually. I thought Afonso was the first king. That would have been cool. The Fons as the first king of Portugal. Again, another American Portuguese residence there. Superb. Was that California? Were the Cunninghams from California?
No, I think they were Minnesota or something.
Oh, okay. All right. I had roasted chestnuts up in Minchinhampton. I think that's Monchique. And I think your spell checker predictive text has turned Monchique into Minchinhampton. And believe it or not, I think there is a place in England called Minchinhampton, everybody. Ian's here. Hello, Ian. Coach Turner's here. Bon dia, Carl. Yeah, Toros. Another inspirational Hollywood movie in the making. Coach Turner. Booster jab today, so we'll be able to receive the show without a phone. Hey, very good. Rugby Collins here. Another Ericeira person. Michael Whitby, please get in touch when you come to Ericeira. Obviously, James is already there. Rugby Colin is there as well. Susan, I read a post this morning saying fuel prices are going down in Portugal. What are the prices there? Through the roof here in Finland. Saw 95 the gasolina up almost to €2. So I don't know. I don't keep an eye on that, but I'm thinking I might do. as part of the expat update. A little look on what's going on in the supermarkets, the petrol stations. 99% of this day in Portuguese history get no comment, but the one king out of all. That's how it works. This is what we're saying about positive and negative news, isn't it? Everyone loves you, Eusebio, when it's all going well. And then as soon as you make a mistake, they're on you, man. They're on you. Just remembered another nice news story. We'll pass it on. Thank you very much, Rebel Mama, for that. See you at the car show on Saturday. Oh, so that's good. It's the 15th running of that. Signs all around San Martino for that. That's good to know. Have a great morning, everyone, and good luck with the Boosterians. Same problem as always. Flocks of birds to keep out, off shopping to keep them away. I don't know what he means there, but maybe that's literally what he means. I didn't know if it was a euphemism or metaphor, as is the way many communicate here. Morning, my Portuguese massive. Is that true? Okay. Pamela Smith, bon dia. Beautiful pictures coming in from Pamela. A view over. I'll play that at the end, or I'll show that at the end, Pam, of your wonderful aerial picture looking over, I think it was Alcobaça, but certainly around that neck of the woods. And has anyone, asked Elise, come here from the US with very large dogs? Yes, we do. We do know of those people. Tap said maximum £70. Ours are 19,100. You didn't bring any pets with you, did you, James?
No.
Okay, so maybe
it's one of the things that allowed me the freedom to do what I did, is that I'm just solely and completely responsible for me. My joke before I left was my only pet was my lime tree. I had a potted lime tree I had to find a home for, but other than that.
And do you get pictures on a regular basis of the lime tree saying, I'm fine, thank you?
No, I trusted the new owners and let it go. Right?
Let it go, sir. Canada and maybe US have Gas Buddy. Oh, that's interesting. So there are comparison sites. In UK, call the classic show an auto jumble. Interesting. So, I think we should have more of this local news. It's going down well. Expo West Car Show is fab. Well worth going. So maybe see some of you there. Good morning, James and Carl. Great to meet you on Tuesday. Very interested to hear your story. So you've already hooked up with Colin, have you, James?
Yes, we actually had coffee together the other day. He's a little bit north in Ribamar, but he and João Ferrao, I'm still struggling with the words. The double F.
Yes, indeed. João F. Go with João F. It's also, easy, that's why.
Yeah, João F. And I do that too. João. The people I'm living with. It's not João. It's João. It's like, all right, yeah. João. Right. and he's helped me too. I said, how do you pronounce your name? Anyway, it's been quite fun. So
you can just call it JF.
Yes, I've been able to share a couple personal contacts through this show. So it's another amazing thing of the technology is I knew the people I'm living with here. I met months before doing a language exchange with one of the owners. Said, oh, by the way, I have a converted garage that you can rent from me if you want to. I said, great. And he said, oh, and when you get here, we'll pick you up at the airport. It's like, great. It's like, all right.
Beautiful.
Yes.
The honeymoon period, I think you called it the infatuation phase. James, it will show its face via the medium of bureaucracy. Come on, Andy, cheer up.
I'm prepared. I already have heard so much about it. I think I'll be disappointed if it's not that bad.
James, be sure to look up Terry/Mark, the dog-loving Americans in Ericeira. Have you met them yet?
I have not. Okay, that's kind of like saying, oh, you're from California. Do you know Joe Smith? It's like,
it works better here. It does work better here. I forgot to tell you, James, there is a Buddha monk's home and gardens in your village. So are you near Buddha land? You near Buddha land?
Thank you, Colin. Yeah, I knew about that coming in. So, but I haven't been there yet.
Quite an extraordinary place. I think it's owned by one of the winemakers, isn't it? Which is an interesting sort of associated fact. Terry, Mark, you must come to Ribamar and walk with our three dogs. So some good networking going on this morning. Jeff, I have to obtain an SNS. Oh, I see. That's Andy describing the minutiae of his life and why he's coming back, I think, to Portugal temporarily. I had a similar emphany. Okay, when I was touched by Patanjali's challenge of don't lie. Oh, sorry, don't die. with your music still in you. So an inspirational quote there. That goes alongside the others of this morning, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
So maybe an epiphany is a thing, but epiphany for sure, I suspect, if we know Jim and we know Patanjali's effect on people there. That's beautiful, Jim. Thank you for that.
Maybe it's a combination between epiphany and empathy.
It could be, couldn't it? I'm sure Jim will tell us. Bon dia todos from Paolo Borotta. I do like your little logo there, Paolo Borotta. Tell us what that's all about, if you will. Well done, James from Thunder. All that you are is all that you've seen and all that you've done. More profundity.
All that you think.
Isn't that amazing?
You are what you think. Yes.
Yep. Thunder, the philosopher, the Lisbon-based philosopher. Great to see you yesterday. Rick Hansen of Buddha's Brain fame suggests that we are hardwired 7 times for the negative over the 1 positive. Judging by Eusebio's comments and experience this morning, it's true. Negativity is like Velcro and positivity is like Teflon. I guess we just need to know how to manage it, don't we, James?
Well, yes. And research is showing that the more we focus on something, the brain automatically finds the shortcuts to getting there. So the more negative things you focus on, the quicker you get to negativity. So the challenge in positivity is you have to rewire your brain and get that to be the fast track as opposed to the negative. So it's all true.
And that's what he's saying there. We have to be quite intentional about the positive. Change the world. Yes. You change your world when you do that, don't you? Marcus Valbon, bon dia, gente boa. If it bleeds, it leads. Another adage. Isn't that the horrible, cynical world of newspapers? It's so true. I do feel some empathy, as in I feel sorry for people who've worked in newspapers for a long time. You know, there are people in our world, aren't there, who kind of take these bullets, if you like, metaphorically. And they don't have to do it, do they? But, they may have found themselves in it for years. And I think it changes a person, as it does, people who are on the leading edge of care in our world and emergency services. It has an effect on people, and we need to look after them for sure. Our negativity bias is part of our default mode network. That sounds like something that comes along with a modem or your fiber optic system here. Maybe it's the fiber optics of humanity. And News Corp are a problem. Shock and scandal makes for column inches, unless we just don't take the bait, Andy. But I guess there you are. Your gate is open at Gatwick in 25 minutes, and you'll be walking past newspapers screaming out to want to tell you bad news. Resist, resist. Hola, bon dia, friends and comrades, brothers and sisters. And this is Hank, who describes you as a brother from another mother a little bit later on in the comments here. Bon dia from Andy. Hello, Porky Feet Andy. Free Portuguese lessons in Oliveira, the Bairro between Coimbra and Aveiro starting next week. If you live a little way from there and you don't mind the drive, you're going to make new friends in the beautiful part of the world that is the Barrada region. If you live in Coimbra, you could do that. If you live in Aveiro, you could do that on a weekly basis. There are trains. There's a train line there as well, interestingly. Looking forward to a show with a fellow Californian. No more looking forward. We're right here, right now, Hank, and I think you're enjoying it. Garvo's here. Bon dia todos. Being serious for once, I would invite all viewers to join me in paying tribute to all those who pay the ultimate cost in all wars, including those fighting against disease. Respects. Absolutely, Garvo. Thank you for that. Well said, sir. Carl, Portugal took part in World War I. Interesting. Okay, so neutral in World War II and took part with that death toll of over 7,000 people in World War I. SMH means shaking my head. And Andy echoing yes, and I think agreeing with me. A fantastic point to make about that. Can we all observe the 2-minute silence at 11 a.m.? We'll be long gone from here, but of course, people may wish to do that. Who will be the first Gumper to drive a Gumpert? I don't know about Gumpers. Do you know what a Gumpert is?
Not at all.
Okay. Portugal was at war with Germany in World War I, but remained neutral in World War II and did quite well out of it, I think. Did you know a general wanted the armistice to start at 2 p.m.? Can you imagine the amount of extra deaths that would have taken place if that was general was listened to? Thankfully, he wasn't indeed. Those few hours have made a big difference. California is the best state in the Union. I'm sure my being a native Californian has nothing to do with my opinion on that. When I was looking for flags and when I was doing the graphics for your appearance this morning, which sounds very grand, doesn't it? Your appearance. You can see it here. Oh, you can't because James joining us live from Ericeira is in front of the flag there. But it said California on that particular graphic. California Republic with a bear on it. What's that
Yes.
all about? What is that?
That's
What is
that's the state flag. Every state has a flag, and then the nation has a flag.
But I was interested to see that it was referred to as a republic. Why is that?
History, I don't, as a former history teacher, you'd think I would know, but I
Yes,
don't. I
indeed,
don't know what
James.
they're
You
talking
let
about.
me down there.
Yes.
Others will know. Alice,
Perhaps Californians considered themselves a republic at the time they found or came up with the flag that they wanted to use. I don't
I
know.
like the flag a lot. I like it. A big bear and a star on it. You can't go wrong, can you? Comrade James.
Yes.
I don't know if you would go that far, but Hank certainly does. Alice
Well, I did want to
agreeing.
say that perhaps that's our shared mother, California. When he said
Yes,
brother from another
indeed.
mother, it's like, well,
Yeah.
perhaps California
Mother
is our
California.
mutual mother.
Yes, that's right. The bosom of the West Coast, of which you both
Yes.
have partaken. Just tossed my Kodak carousel because it got going to. Oh no, Jim! No! That's such an indignity. I think
Jim, convert it all to video. I mean, to computers. Get it stored on your hard drive.
I think that was the reaction of the whole world when the election results came in. I don't think it was for everybody. It has to be said. Imagine living in a red state like South Carolina. See,
No, thank you.
they've gone there. They've gone there with this. It's the negativity again, isn't it? So many lefties ran away from UK when Boris won here. I don't think I'd put myself in there. It was a coincidence. Think positive. If Corbyn had won, all the Tories would sulk and move to Portugal. There is that. Problem is that corporate Democrats are no better in most instances than Trump. Just better PR, says Eusebio. You're getting more of these, I think. And from Deagle as well. Greetings, James. Lol, Tories in Portugal, they would be in for a surprise. Just think of all the people you can employ on the minimum wage, though. James, I have said that Portugal's national values are very similar to my own personal values. Would you say that's something you feel as well there, James?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a big part of what I learned through my research and what I'm discovering being here. Europe in general, my experience of, my grand experience of 3 different countries is there is a tendency toward progressivism, which I define as a willingness of the government to support people who have difficulty supporting themselves. I don't look at it as a handout. I don't look at it as lazy people taking advantage of the government, any of that kind of stuff that the right tends to fight. That's the position they fight from. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of taking care of our people. The United States is, if not the only one of 3 developed nations that doesn't provide a public healthcare system for its people. Health insurance in the United States can be $1,000 a month or more, depending on your age and family situation. And as I said, most other countries, particularly my experience of France and Italy and now Portugal, is there is a feeling, and especially in Portugal, I think this accounts for the vaccination rate. There is a cultural priority to taking care of each other. I've noticed that neighbors, family, it's like, if putting on a mask and getting a vaccination will help, I'll do it.
Yes.
And the United States is, you can't tell me what to do. I'm free and independent. It's like,
very interesting. Very interesting. Okay. And people, we're never far away, are we, from a polarization and people, declaring where they are, and then I find this fascinating because I know quite a few people in this community, and on the face of it, when a conversation of this kind takes place, it would look that they're quite opposed to each other. But then when we take away that lens or that optic of looking at the world, people in this community are so similar. They want exactly the same things, and until they start talking about how to do it, which is, I think, often the dividing factor. It's fascinating. My dream was to live in Europe since my first trip in '96. The Trumpian news in the US was a motivating factor in getting here faster. And I'm Canadian.
I don't want to be your neighbor.
Yeah, I don't even want to be your neighbor. That's amazing. Isn't it? We were originally planning to move to Spain, but Portugal kept coming up in our research. Look, James, I have a request of you.
Yes.
We've looked at 2 of your pictures, or 1 picture and 1 video. There are loads more. There are loads more comments. Would you come back next Thursday So I don't want to rush this. We've got 5 minutes left of the show. And I don't want to rush this. Would you be happy to come back again? And because you are part of this community, as well as having this story to tell.
I would love to. What do I want to say? There was a little bit of nerves coming in, and you've done a marvelous job of helping me just feel very, very relaxed, which I trusted. So thank you for that. And I just am amazed because I feel like I'm brand new. Like, why should I be on this show? I'm brand new. But as you have so pointed out, I've got an experience that could be beneficial to, well, pretty much anyone who wants to come, but especially Americans, and more particularly West Coast California Americans. So
yes,
absolutely, I would love to come back.
I've never seen so many comments in the thread, the comment thread, including Gumpert cars. I've been learning about Gumpert cars. Wonderful show. So we'll have a second go at this on Thursday, or the continuation thereof. People who say that the unemployed are just lazy and not willing to work, they were never in that unfortunate situation. You see, there is so much compassion here, and then the trouble starts, and we're talking about the solutions. But I think we do it in a great way. The collective principle asserts that no society can legitimately call itself civilized if a sick person is denied medical aid because of a lack of means. From Bevan. Yeah, for sure. When we do the road trip all together, will I be driving the Gumper truck? I hope so. And I hope you've got your license sorted out so it's got the right categories. California became a republic first and then a state after the Bear Revolt flag, or the Bear Flag Revolt, I'm sorry, in Sonoma County, which is why we have the bear. There used to be grizzlies in California as well. Yes. This is great. And I'm so sorry I can't go through. Go on. Sorry, James.
I just said thank you to Natalie. Great information.
There is so much information here. I do urge people to read through the comments. Watch it again on YouTube, as I'm sure you and I will do, James. And so we can look at this. This is worth including. Please stop butchering my name. We're going to call you.
Comment.
We'll call you Joao F or JF. I can say it very well, but we don't know that, Rebel Mama. You can spell it very well. Oh yeah, okay, and that's from you. When did you do that? You say you don't multitask well. I didn't even see you.
I just had to. I come in when I'm going to pause. I'm going to be intentional. Juan wrote his comment, and I felt a personal need to let him know that I'm trying, which he then acknowledges later. So.
All right. So a comment here from Rebel Mama. Thank you, everybody, for your comments. And sorry we didn't get to them all. That's why we're going to do this again next Thursday, part 2 of James Holley's journey from the United States to Portugal, which has been fascinating, fun, and so interactive here. But just to send you on your way this week, James, bureaucracy is not bad here. Yeah, Andy, most things can be done online. Anyone been to the DMV, the Department of Motor Vehicles in California ever? That is a nightmare bureaucracy. Don't believe the hype, James. Isn't that? So there's a nice point to leave you on there. Oh, no, here's another one. It's rather curious that James spoke about that similarity between Italians and Portuguese. I feel the same. In fact, I think in many respects we are closer to Italians than to Spaniards there.
Resonating with my limited experience, yes.
Yes. Okay,
and
James.
In terms of bureaucracy, don't forget, I've been to France and I've been to Italy. I understand bureaucracy.
Yes, and wherever there's bureaucracy in Portugal, there are also cafes nearby, aren't there? And you can make a day out of it. Think of it that way. Don't try and get it done in 30 minutes during your lunch break or something. Do it the other way around. Have a lunch break and plan to spend the day in the town where the bureaucracy is taking place, and that will make it a whole lot better. James, you've been amazing. Managing expectations, absolutely. There he goes. We'll find out more about how to engage with you as a coach, I suspect, next week as well. I got a couple of photos to share, I believe. I think there are other things on today. Go on.
If you will pause on the photos for today, it'll give us time to sort through them. And since I think more of the focus next week will be in the process of getting here, it might be a good place to use them.
Absolutely. No, I was thinking of other people's photos that have been
absolutely.
Sent.
Yeah, I'd love to see this.
We are prizing your photos and videos. People loving your appearance here this morning. And look at this. Agreeing, Natalie, I had the best pastel de nata ever after my Ceph appointment. enjoy the journey. That's right. But always make sure there's a trip out and a day out associated with any bureaucracy. And love. So have a safe flight, Andy. And James, I'll wish you a great day, and we'll do this again next Thursday.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, community. I love being in front of you. I love being with you. Yes.
Look at that. Deagle says, love James' view on life. Positively flows from him. Fantastic fella. Cheers, mate. Bye for now. Or should I say, ati prossima. There he goes, James Holley, everybody, who has been with us today. And we'll do that again next week because it just deserves a continuation, doesn't it? What a fantastic conversation. What a lovely man. And I think I do have some other photos to share from people who have very kindly sent them in. And we'll go out with Dougie's video from Monchique. I must share that with you, as I must improve my bust comes to mind. We showed that workstation yesterday. We had another workstation come in. I still want to see pictures of your desks, tidy or untidy. Where are they that were all piling in from yesterday? Dougie's video I've got lined up. Oh, this is very beautiful. This is Miranda de Corvo, I believe, or was this the autumnal picture that got sent in from Alcobaça? No, Miranda de Corvo. We have. Let me tell you, tonight we have a webinar with Spartan Effects. The Ben. People ring him up and say, "Are you the Ben?" And he says, "Yeah, I am." He's the lovely fella who is happy to take calls late into the evening. His wife is not so happy about it, and especially when they're on holiday. But tonight we have Ben from Spartan Effects talking about moving currency around the world and the way that they do it, which seems to be very popular from the testimonials we receive. And we have our Expats Portugal plan soiree gathering from 9 for the folks on the plan, where we help people move to Portugal in a step-by-step handheld way. And Filomena is going to be joining us, and she will be joining us tomorrow morning as well. This is the picture from her office, pretty much, in Miranda de Corvo. And so you'll be able to get this in person tomorrow. Well, either one of these from Filomena on Filomena Friday tomorrow, or some of this, which I'm expecting after my Gasoleo pronunciation. Gasolio is how it should be. That sounded a bit Italian, didn't it? Okay, so what else have we got picture-wise for you that's been sent in before we share with you that lovely video from Monchique or Minchinhampton? Oh, here's one of Gatwick Airport. There's Andy, a misty morning over there in the south east of England. We also have a brand castle from Matty. I think talk of castles recently. I was up on the Porto de Mosh castle. That's a beauty. That's where Matty comes from. I think that's his local castle. That's fantastic. Thank you very much for that, Matty. And I'm sorry I didn't pick up on too many of your comments this morning. And this is the view that Pam sent in as well. That's from up above the Alcobaça area. What did she say about it here? Let me find out and share with you exactly what she said. The castle, actually, the castle before from Matty. This is a castle from my home region where I was born. It is called Triffelsch. Triffelsch, and it is built on 3 rock formations. Thank you very much for that. A desktop entry and I don't do these just so you can put my picture on them. I promise you that, although I do quite like it, I have to say. But we were hoping to I was hoping to let you know where that the current picture you've got on the screen. Okay, the view down to Porto de Mosh, nothing to do with Alcobaça. This is Porto de Mosh, a little bit further along the road from Parque Natural de Er e Candeiros. You can share this. Thank you very much for that lovely aerial view there from the Porto de Mosh area of the world. And then yes, a final, literally a desktop. I think I've missed one here. I think I missed out on Thunders. We'll do that another day, Thunder. And there's Rebel Mama's desktop. I think you got the same laptop as me. Oh no, you haven't. They just look the same. But isn't that great? A simple desk on the sofa there, watching the show. We love that. Thank you so much, Rebel Mama, for that. Let's go out with Dougie's wonderful video of Monchique yesterday. Loving these. There's more where this came from. So enjoy this one and know that more are coming. Here we go, Dougie Monchique, and we'll play the outro after this. Thank you so much to James. Thank you to all of you this morning. And we'll be seeing back here next Thursday. And I might see you tonight on the webinar with Spartan Effects. Ciao, ciao.
Okay, we'll bring you some autumn scenes from Monchique. This is their little brasa down here, or braca. I always get that wrong. It's the Praca down here in Monchique with all the little cafes and things. Beautiful golden colours on those trees. It kind of reminds me of a little place in Sicily called Bronte, which is famous for growing pistachios. Monchique, of course, is famous for that Portuguese firewater, Madronia. It was the first bit of Portuguese I ever learned, and it was Uno Madronia, faz favor. And it's a piece of Portuguese I've learned to regret. Absolutely. That might come in useful because there's quite a hill for my old carcass to navigate. This is for when the bombeiros get it wrong. I do love those autumn colours though. They're quite spectacular. What do you think, fella? I reckon he agrees. Couple of little traditional Portuguese cafes there. They do those prato do dias with choice of meat or fish. There you go, a perfect view of Monchique extending into the distance. The whole of the sort of mid part of the Algarve there. Oh, it's amazing, what a view. Monchique never shies away from giving us flowers. Go on. That ain't bad, is it? Wow. Blown away, actually. And I've been here a few times. There's something hanging around which I haven't seen many of over the past few days. Them things. Clouds. There are two cafes right here in the upper part of Monchique. One of them's busy, so clearly that's the one to use. One maybe not so busy. Lisboa not so far. No, Lisboa is very far. Portimao not so far. Like I said, if you like flowers, Monchique is your place. And there's the road leading up to the top of Monchique, and they'll do another short video from the top. So there you go. Ciao for now.